This is The Mindful Heart Hears, and you are listening to Archimedes, the Great Inventor. The following is taken from the story of great inventions by Elmer Ellsworth Burns. Some changes to the text have been made. More than 2,000 years ago in the Greek city of Syracuse lived a man named Archimedes. The king of Syracuse, Hiero, took great interest in the discoveries of Archimedes. One day, Archimedes said to King Hiero that with his own strength he could move any weight whatsoever. He even said that if there was another earth to which he could go, he could move this earth wherever he pleased. The king, full of wonder, begged of him to prove the truth of this statement by moving some very heavy weight. Whereupon Archimedes caused one of the king's galleries to be drawn ashore. This required many hands and much labor. Having manned the ship and put on board her usual loading, he placed himself at a distance and easily moved with his hand the end of a machine which consisted of a variety of ropes and pulleys, drawing the ship over the sand in as smooth and gentle a manner as if she had been under sail. The king, quite astonished, persuaded Archimedes to make for him many machines which could be used for attack or defense in a siege. During the life of King Hiero, Syracuse had no occasion to use the war machines of Archimedes. The grandson of King Hiero, who succeeded to the throne, was a tyrant. He attempted to throw off the sovereignty of Rome and entered with an alliance with Carthage. His cruelty towards his own people was so great that after a short reign he was assassinated. There was anarchy in Syracuse for a time, the Roman and anti-Roman parties striving for supremacy. The anti-Roman party gaining possession of the city. The Romans, in order to bring Syracuse again into subjection, prepared for an attack by sea and land. Now Syracuse had need of the war machines made by Archimedes. The Romans came with a large land force and a fleet. They were sure that within 5 days they would conquer the city. But there are times when one man with brains is worth more than an army. In the battle which followed, Archimedes, with his inventions, was more than a match for the Romans. The city was strong from the fact that the wall on one side lay along a chain of hills with overhanging brows. On the other side, the wall had its foundation close down by the sea. A fleet of 60 ships commanded by Marcellus bore down upon the city. The ships were full of men armed with bows and slings and javelins, with which to dislodge the men who fought on the battlements. 8 ships had been fastened together in pairs. These double vessels were rowed by the outer oars of each of the pair. On each pair of ships was a ladder 4 feet wide and long enough to reach the top of the wall. Each side of the ladder was protected by a railing, and a small roof-like covering, called a penthouse, was fastened to the upper end of the ladder. This covering served to protect the soldiers until they could reach the top of the wall. Their hope was to bring these double ships close to shore, raise the ladders by ropes and pulleys until they rested against the wall, then scale the wall and capture the city. But Archimedes had crossbows ready, and when the ships were still at some distance, he shot stones and darts at the enemy, wounding and greatly annoying them. When these began to cross over their heads, he used smaller crossbows of shorter range, so that the stones and darts fell constantly in their midst. By this means he checked their advance, and finally Marcellus, in despair, was obliged to bring up his ships under cover of night. But when they had come close to land, and so too near to be hit by the crossbows, they found that Archimedes had another contrivance ready. He had pierced the wall as high as a man's head with many loopholes, which on the outside were about as big as the palm of the hand. Inside the wall, he had stationed archers and men with crossbows to shoot down the marines. By these means, he had not only baffled the enemy, but killed the greater number of them. When they tried to use their ladders, they discovered that he had cranes ready all along the walls, not visible at other times, but which suddenly reared themselves above the wall from the inside and stretched their beams far over the battlements, some of them carrying stones weighing about 500 pounds, and others great masses of lead. So whenever the ships came near, these beams swung round on their pivots, and by means of a rope running through a pulley, dropped the stones upon the ships. The result was that they not only smashed the ships to pieces, but killed many of the soldiers on board. Another machine made by Archimedes was an iron hand, or grappling hook, swung on a chain and carried by a crane. The hook was dropped on the prow of a ship, and when it had taken hold, the ship was lifted until it stood on its stern, then quickly dropped, causing it either to sink or to take in a great quantity of water. With such machines, unknown before, Archimedes drove back the enemy. On the landward side, similar machines were used. The Romans were reduced to a state of terror that if they saw but a rope or a stick put over the walls, they cried out that Archimedes was leveling some machine at them, and turned their backs and fled. After a long siege, however, hunger forced the Syracusans to surrender. Marcellus so admired the genius of Archimedes that he gave orders that he should not be injured. Yet in the sack of the city which followed, Archimedes was slain by a Roman soldier. The Roman historian Livy stated that Archimedes, while intent on some figures which he had made in the dust, although the confusion was as great as could possibly be, was put to death by a soldier who did not know who he was. That Marcellus was greatly grieved at this, and that pains were taken about his funeral, while his relations also were carefully sought and received honor and protection on account of his name and